There goes the whistle. We're away for the second half of this centenary of the FA Cup. And here it goes on the far side. That's the Leeds right flank, remember, in this half. Just to remind you that it's Leeds now playing from right to left, and it's immediately a throw in to Leeds. Bremner to take the throw. A long one down to Clark, just outside the area. He's got his shadow, which is Peter Simpson, behind him, but he gets it back to Bremner. Bremner putting it onto his right foot, moves forward, still has it. Then that little reverse square ball, trying to find Lorimer, but only finds Bob McNabb, who sends ball away. Ball checks as Bremner challenges, and the ball goes to the left. That's the Arsenal left flank to McNabb. McNabb finding Charlie George. George can't quite get hold of it in time, and Ball and George and Bremner having almost as if they were going to have a little set two together. Both clap each other on the back, perfectly all right, but it was a foul by Charlie George. Referee saw it straight away, and as in the first half, he has no doubts at all. Was a push there by George on Bremner. And Mr. Smith coming over to do a little bit more than that. In fact, Mr. Smith is taking a fourth name. He's taking the name of Charlie George. He's taking the name of Charlie George, who walks away in disgust at that one. Mr. Smith walking to him, got the book out quite firmly. So Charlie George becomes the fourth man in the book as Charlton takes the free kick high inside the area, tries to find the head of Gray, but it breaks there off the back of Gray over the line for no danger there to the Arsenal. And it's a goal kick which Jeff Barnett himself will take. Four men in the book then, Hunter and Bremner of Leeds in the first half, Bob McNabb in the first half minute, and now Charlie George for feet up on Bremner. Four men in the book, but still no goals as Barnett takes the goal kick himself. His kick 10 yards inside the Leeds half, finds the head of Hunter. Hunter forward to Gray. Gray going in there with Pat Rice, puts the foot up, but referee says play on, and the ball breaks loose to Hunter. Hunter looking rather cumbersome, but still keeping possession, turns it to Madeley. Madeley immediately sends a long ball down to Clark. And some good reading there by Peter Simpson. Comes on the back of Clark to the Arsenal right flank and turns it on to Ball. Ball trying a short ball in field, but it comes off the white stockings of Eddie Gray, and Ball to take the throw himself. No, he leaves it on the floor for his skipper Frank McClintock. The ball about halfway inside the Arsenal half, and McClintock in turn leaving it to Pat Rice. Pat Rice, the Irish international fullback for Arsenal, to take the throw downfield to George. George in a tussle with Madeley. Ball breaks loose and picked up by Rice. To Ball. Ball, a short square ball to Story. Story keeps it going left to the far side. To George Graham. Graham coming towards us, looks as if he's going to leave it to George, but doesn't. Tries to find George Armstrong. Almost an accidental pass, that one, off Madeley, but it finds Armstrong and on to Ball. Ball trying to go around Madeley. Madeley and Armstrong together. Tall pine tree of Madeley and little short figure of Armstrong. Comes to Madeley in turn and on to Giles. Giles downfield to Jones. Jones challenged by McClintock, but gets it back to Giles, but a sliding tackle by McClintock. And it's a throw in to Leeds. Still on the Leeds left flank, about 10 yards inside the Arsenal half. Giles to take it, looking a little bit impatient, and finally throws it to Eddie Gray, who's found space for him. Gray turning, he's got two defenders around, and the ball is swept away by George Graham. And again, touch almost in the identical position, and away to our right, the Arsenal supporters now trying to urge their side on. They want to keep the FA Cup that they won here last year. And Eddie Gray takes that throw in from Hunter, turning it back to Hunter. Hunter going into Armstrong. Ball collides, and from the bounce ball, it goes on to Story. Story down to Radford. Radford turning to his right, out to Armstrong, just below us. Good player Armstrong, finding space. He goes round Hunter like a whisker, and he turns it across the area. Good looking one, and Harvey goes out, and he's lost it, but he gets it again. Good work there by David Harvey. And relief there for Leeds United. As we were saying earlier, may have been a difficult choice for Don Revie to leave out his international goalkeeper Gary Sprake, but certainly there can be no doubting about his choice so far with Harvey. 4 minutes gone into the second half, still no score, as a long ball from Lorimer trying to find Clark, who must be all of 6 yards offside, and the red flag of the linesman goes up on that far side. Alan Clark looking disgusted with that ball from Lorimer, and it's a free kick then to Arsenal. And Frank McClintock, who else, the man who organises things so well at the back for Arsenal, player of the year in 1971, and certainly playing like a great captain this afternoon. He had no doubts when I spoke to him a week ago that they were going to do it. But then, of course, Leeds equally determined that they're going to win the FA Cup for the first time. The free kick from McClintock, halfway inside the Leeds half. But Charlton has no trouble in clearing that one, but only to the head of Story, who in turn loses it to Bremner. Bremner, that little stuttering movement of his coming forward, turns it back to Madeley. Madeley checks, puts it onto his left foot, and then kicks a long one downfield to try and find Gray, but only finds, again, who else? McClintock. McClintock guarding it for Arsenal. To Ball, and a 1-2 there with Rice. Rice going down the right flank. Tackled there by Madeley, breaks to Giles. Giles again seems to be able to find space magically for Bremner. Bremner keeping it going to the right. This flowing movement of Leeds now, moving it on to Reaney. Reaney leaving it to Clark. Clark coming in field for Leeds, still holding the ball. He's got Reaney on his outside, puts it to Reaney. Reaney hugging that touchline on the far side, the right flank to Gray. Gray going fast down the line. If he gets this one over, it's going to be difficult, but it's just gone over the line. The ball, in fact, has just bounced into the net, but there was no question about that one. The ball had gone certainly a yard over, well, a foot certainly over the line on that far side. We were thinking perhaps in terms of the old controversy again, that one of the famous stories of a cup final here at Wembley, of course, of a ball going over the line and then being crossed and Arsenal being one down. But Arsenal weren't one down there, no question of that one. So it's Barnett to take the goal kick himself. Again, this long kick, but again only finds the head of Charlton, who towers above George and sends Clark away on the Leeds right flank. Clark has got Bremner with him, turns it to Bremner. Bremner tries to avoid one tackle. Brought to the ground, though, quite a fair tackle, and McNabb putting it on to Graham. Graham out to Ball. Ball turning it back to Simpson. Simpson now finding space and then moving it forward inside the Leeds half, but only finds the right boot of Madeley. And from Madeley it goes on to Frank McClintock. It's Leeds to Arsenal to Leeds at the moment. Back to Graham. Graham turning it to his left to McNabb, and then back to Graham. Then Graham turning this way and sends a long ball out just below us here to Armstrong. Armstrong with his red jersey now outside his shorts, turning it in field to Ball. Ball, a reverse ball, a good ball from Ball to Peter Storey just outside the 18-yard area for Arsenal, and on to Rice. Rice putting it onto his left foot, or trying to, he does, turns it across the area. McNabb is there and hits the side netting. Good work there by Bob McNabb. Some fine running from the back there, the sort of stuff that Martin Peters has done so well for West Ham and then Tottenham and England. That was Bob McNabb floating in from the back like a shadow. A beautiful cross there, and McNabb was in, but not quite enough angle for him, and it hit the white nylon side netting of that Leeds goal, and Harvey, I think, quite pleased to see that one going there. So it's Harvey to take the goal kick himself. Still no score, Arsenal 0, Leeds 0, but plenty of good football from two quality sides down there. An overhead kick from Bremner. With 7 minutes gone, Bremner trying to set Jones going on the far side, but McClintock comes over and puts it into touch. Just about 10 yards inside the Arsenal half on the Leeds right flank. That's on the far side from where we sit, high up above the Royal box. And we've got, of course, royal personalities here this afternoon, Her Majesty the Queen and Prince Philip, who was presented to the two teams before this game started. And the game has lived up to it so far. Bremner then to take the throw for Leeds down to Clark. Clark twisting and turning round defenders. Looks so fragile, Clark, but so strong. And still coming in field is Clark. Turns it to Giles. Giles keeps it coming to the left, to this side to Madeley. Madeley checks his stride, goes round Storey, turns it back to Giles. Giles will put it to the far side, but it's picked up by Radford. He picked up that ball, and Radford going forward to George. And George now accelerating fast downfield for Arsenal. And there are 4 white shirts of Leeds that have come back very quickly. Radford picked up that ball. It might have been very dangerous. Picked up that pass from Giles, but it's still Armstrong in possession for Arsenal. Going in field. He's got Hunter around him. It's Gray, in fact, who finally takes the ball from him, puts it on to Lorimer. Lorimer in the inside left position now for Leeds, on to Clark. Clark goes round McClintock, can't, brought down fairly. Still there, Clark and McClintock tussling. And from the break, Ball picks it up inside the centre circle and goes forward for Arsenal. Ball going to try 1-2 with George, but the big figure of Charlton sweeps that one away to Madeley. And Madeley flicks it on here to Lorimer. And Lorimer now going forward just as quickly for Leeds, turning it to Jones. Jones in the outside right position, just outside the 18-yard area, tries to go round McNabb. McNabb gets the ball, still comes back to Jones. A chance here for Clark. Clark heads it, and it's there. Alan Clark has scored. A magnificent run down the right wing by Mick Jones. He went round Bob McNabb, turned the ball across, and there was Alan Clark with that superb heading power of his to put it into the right-hand corner. No chance for Jeff Barnett. Arsenal 0, Leeds United 1. Alan Clark has put them into the lead.
The scorer, Alan Clark, known as the Sniffer, tall and thin, but his pace and strength deceptive. He began his career with Fulham, moved to Leicester for £150,000, and then 3 years before this final to Leeds for £165,000. His goal now lifted Leeds, and we take up the story with 25 minutes to go.
And it's Rice to take the free kick, about 10 yards inside his own half. Urgency now in the Arsenal play, there must be. And a long one trying to find Radford, does do so, a chance perhaps for George, but Reaney comes in quickly, belts it away. It's still just outside the area. Giles going forward, McNabb tries an overhead kick, and Harvey did well to get that one. Not as easy as it looked. A difficult looking dipping shot, bounced a yard or two in front of him, but he clasped it firmly and confidently, as he's done most of the stuff that he's had to do this afternoon for Leeds. And Lorimer turning it back to Harvey himself. They've got an awful lot of confidence now in this goalkeeper. Perhaps the one forlorn figure just below us is Gary Sprake in the smart plum suits that Leeds were wearing before the match. He's just below us, but I'm sure he's just as pleased as anybody as Mick Jones goes thundering forward and Simpson brings him down just outside the area. The Arsenal players coming along to protest that wasn't a free kick, but it was a thundering tackle by Simpson. But of course, when it's two big men, it never looks quite as bad. But it is a free kick to Leeds United in almost the identical position. Jones still down on the floor. Les Cocker, the Leeds trainer, coming out to have a quick look at him. And still a dangerous looking situation, I think, for Arsenal here, because Leeds can do these set pieces very well. And the free kick then, the wall is lined up. It's Giles standing alongside it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 men in the wall to Lorimer. Lorimer shoots it, cannons off Mick Jones, of all people, who was standing in the wall, but it still breaks to Giles, just outside the Arsenal 18-yard area on the left flank. He's got to go around two defenders if he's going to get through. He gets around one, can't get around the second, but it goes to Gray. Gray now putting it onto his right foot. If he could only get it onto his left, he'd do well. Breaks to Ball trying to come forward, but he's got Hunter, and Hunter's got enough space to turn that infield to Madeley, who's taken up good space to help Norman Hunter. Hunter on to Reaney, on to Charlton. Charlton, almost like an inside forward, beats George Graham. Great cheer from the Leeds supporters and sends Eddie Gray going away down the inside right position. Gray leaving it to Clark. Clark back to Gray. Gray back to Clark. Keep possession, say Leeds, and we must be home and dry now. Back to Bremner. Bremner downfield to Reaney, but good work by Simpson, who sets Graham away. And Arsenal coming right back with George Armstrong inside the centre circle now. A ball to the, trying to find the overlapping Bob McNabb, but only finds Clark, who sends a beautiful ball out here to Giles. And Giles turning it to his left to Paul Madeley. Madeley just inside the Arsenal half. His tall figure of Madeley, a man who can play everywhere. And because of that, perhaps not quite given the respect he ought to have. And Gray trying to go around Simpson, but the long leg of Simpson sends Ball away. Ball inside the centre circle, moving it to his left to Graham. Graham picking that ball up. There are 2, 3 Arsenal players midfield now, and the third one is Peter Simpson, who goes round Reaney, bowls him over, in fact, still goes round him, turns it square to Graham. Graham square to Ball, he'll hit this one, and it bounces off Bremner, and a chance for George, and he's hit the bar, and a chance for Simpson, and it goes over the top. One of the few occasions when we've seen Charlie George, and he smacked that one against the bar. 24 minutes gone, and from the rebound, Simpson hit it over the top. And Charlie George, the man who can win a match in a twinkling, the man we've seen very little of, might then really have pulled Arsenal right back. But there it is, still Arsenal 0, Leeds United 1, 24 minutes gone. Morris?
And a tremendously fine effort by George, who overall has had a very quiet game, but he really thundered that one against the bar. So Leeds still lead by 1-0, aiming for the first ever victory in this FA Cup. And what a grand year to have it, the Centenary final, as the ball is with Madeley. Madeley to the little general midfield, that's John Giles. Giles now to number 6, that's Norman Hunter. Hunter playing the ball forward to Alan Clark, who's been all grace and dexterity. He turns beautifully there. He's got a man on the right, he finds him. That man is Captain Bremner. Bremner now on the far side of the field, the Leeds right, toying with the ball. In front of him is McNabb. He plays the ball forward to Mick Jones, and Jones had advanced into the offside.